I'm going to go through a couple of visuals now. Personally, when I try to wrap my head around what are we talking about when we're making a dynamic baseline, the pictures really help. And so there's a few slides here. These are being very graciously shared by Carlos from Pachama. So this is a little bit of a walkthrough of the approach that Pachama is using in dynamic baselining, looking at tropical forest conservation efforts. So to start, right, we all understand that a baseline represents the business as usual, the counterfactual of what would have happened in the absence of a carbon project coming in and changing something. To understand what the landscape looked like originally, some parties, like Pachama in this example, and Catherine, can you go to the next slide, are using remotely sensed monitoring approaches, right? So satellite data perhaps is dynamically observing day in and day out on some regular cadence what's happening within a project area and its surroundings over time. And then what we see is an approach to match that area to other places across the landscape, define the similarities between each of those circles and this project area, and then use that to form the basis of trends and change over time, maybe in the past leading up to project start, or once the project began, what happened across the landscape and what happened in the project area. Because there are a bunch of different circles there, that produces a number of different estimates or observations of what's happened across time. And so on this next slide here, we see that the trends of what's happening across the landscape aren't a single solid value, but there actually is an uncertainty range that can be calculated because you can see the trend in each individual point on the ground that's being used as a comparison. And that produces a confidence band around emissions in these controlled areas compared to what's observed across any given project. In typical accounting, right, project's climate impact is the difference between the project and the control areas, those two solid lines. But the use of the dynamic baseline allows us to better understand how sure we are about the gap between those two because of the quantification of uncertainty.